Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. This was a little bit of a difficult video to do. It's something that's been on my mind for a while now, and that was when back in the beginning of 2024, Bandai Namco had canceled me from working with them. In fact, and that blocked me from other future collaborations, even done through third parties. And it's not really Bandai Namco as a whole, it's actually just one individual. And I want to break down that story, kind of give a warning, and maybe defend myself. Let's get started. I think it was about 2022 or so that I was invited into a program with Bandai Namco. It was me and a few other Gundam influencers where we were given a few little things ahead of time, like some GBO2 suit reveals, a few other things, not too much. But the idea was we'd make video content of it, give it to them to approve, to get back to us. And, you know, either you're into that or not. I typically don't like when I'm told what I have to do with my content, but I was willing to play because it was a neat opportunity. In fact, I got to the point where I was invited out to their offices. So it was about the end of 2023. I was in California at the Bandai Namco offices because they wanted to get feedback from us for what to do with the Gundam brand moving forward. The incident started one night at a dinner with the people from Bandai Namco. We were sitting at a large round table with a lot of people around it. I happened to be sitting next to my handlers that communicated with me directly from Bandai Namco. And one of them turned to me and said, "Hey, what do you think about Gundam in blank game?" Now, due to NDA reasons, I'm not going to mention the game, but it's not a game that you would even really think. I don't know how. Maybe I can say gas station simulator. I'll just do as an example. They're like, "Oh, we want to have it where you can buy a Gundam keychain." And it's like, okay, that's neat, but isn't there more we could be doing? You know, Call of Duty, Fortnite. Anyway, someone from across the table overheard the conversation of me not thinking that's the way to go. This person then starts yelling at me from across the table. Now, they have a strong accent, not Japanese, so it's not a Japanese person, but they have a strong accent from another place, and so I couldn't hear them particularly well. So I said, "Yeah, what was that?" And what was interesting is they started laughing and looking at the people around them and going, "He doesn't blah, 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 blah." I didn't hear what he said. I don't know what was going on. And I'm like, "What? Excuse me?" And they were just talking about user-generated content. I just thought it was very odd that the person that this idea was of heard me not liking the idea. And I feel bad that I bruised his ego by saying I didn't think it was a good idea, but he yells at me across the table and uses user-generated content as a means to test my credibility. I don't know. He's in digital marketing. I used to be a digital marketing professional. I chose to get out of that field and to get into consulting, IT, security, AI consulting. You know, just that's better for me. So I just thought it was odd that when this person overheard me not necessarily liking the idea of something, they decided just to like challenge me on digital marketing concepts and then laugh at me in front of people. I didn't think it was too big of a deal. I really just saw it as a misunderstanding. And then I even went on LinkedIn and added that individual to LinkedIn just so I can continue maybe to make some sort of relationship with this person, because I want to do a lot to, help the Gundam brand. And I will say I was met with a little bit more of that after the dinner. I was talking to the individual outside, asking them, just conversation about what's going on the rest of the night. And they were just kind of being a little rude to me. But I didn't want to take that seriously. So I just moved on. Now, I got home from that event, and the next following months were fine. Nothing was a big deal until some Gundam Breaker 4 announcements were made, specifically that it's not going to be on Xbox. And as someone that's a huge gamer, really into games and really into multi-platform gaming, that's what we're seeing all the companies do. Sony just announced recently that they're going to move out of hardware just like Xbox did. So games being multi-platform is just an inevitability. So when I hear that Gundam Breaker 4 is not going to be on Xbox, I'm a little disappointed, especially considering they got Gundam Evolution and then that was canceled. And so on LinkedIn, which we'll get back to in a second, someone had posted how they're disappointed, or not disappointed, but they're not, I guess, the Gundam Breaker 4 might not be the Gundam game that we need, and it's not going to be on Xbox. So I said, yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I'm not a huge Gundam Breaker fan, as the combat is a little simplistic for me, but not releasing on Xbox unless they are holding out on some Game Pass announcement is a mistake. These games' budgets reflect that of marketing Gunpla, so why leave out Xbox, especially given Unreal Engine and SD Gundam Battle Alliance being on Xbox? The one Gundam game Xbox gamers get in modern times happens to be SD. Although from what I understand, this game was delayed from being released last year, but not sure how that would impact decisions. The same decisions that led to Gundam Evolution, so I think we're in the right to call out mistakes. Which I just want to bring up real quick, as a genuine, authentic Gundam fan, I am going to critique and criticize Gundam where fit. I'm not going to be toxic or hateful or call people out. No, but I can speak my mind on these things that we're seeing lately with a bunch of cancellations that Bandai Namco had in general, their shift, Sony buying a larger market share into Bandai Namco. We can see that the landscape is changing when it comes to games, but this video is not about that. I wanted to tell you what happened after this. So I get a Discord chat from two individuals at Bandai Namco. Now, these are my handlers. Let me read it. And in just to be nice, I'm not saying anyone's name at all. I'm not here to shame anyone. I just want to, again, give my experience and kind of maybe defend myself. So, hi, Adam. We're reaching out to discuss some of the comments you have made surrounding the announcement of GB4. I want to start by saying that Blank and I work tirelessly to ensure that the champions can get access to information as early as possible by continuing to strengthen the brand of the Blank, which is the name of the program. I'm just going to blank that out for safety reasons. I don't know if it's necessary. As a group that can be relied up for reliable, even-handed coverage. Few grammatical errors, but again, this is kind of a heated exchange, as we'll see. Especially the teams internally are less inclined to work with content creators. This no small feat, and it is a collaborative effort. No small feat, and it is a collaborative effort. Sorry, the grammar again. We bring what we think are interesting and fruitful opportunities and hope you respond in kind by providing fair and honest content. Fair and honest, okay? To us, and hopefully to you, the Blank represent the best of the best in the community. That is why we were saddened to see your comments in various places, particularly LinkedIn. So notice various places, but then particularly LinkedIn. About GB4's announcement, we typically have no issue with criticism, but we believe there is a time and place and a purpose. You've been in the server long enough to know that we don't like to shill, especially when we think a particular product is not up to our personal standards, both as employees and as fans of Gundam. We will plainly tell you where we think you should focus your efforts when it comes to what Gundam currently has on offer. In short, if we didn't think GB4 was something we could really rally behind and put our limited time and resources into, we wouldn't have worked to hype it up and provide the Blank with a media kit filled with exclusive information no one else had. And please pardon, there is a lot of fluff here that really doesn't matter, but I just kind of want to paint the picture correctly. GB4 is a title we've had extensive feedback on and worked with the Japanese producers to make sure we don't end up with another new Gundam Breaker. If you had concerns about the title and asked us for our honest opinion, we would have no problem giving it. Additionally, all of the concerns you stated about the title would have been answered in that media kit, where we provided specific examples of what this title does differently. We need you to know that your comments have not just been seen by us, but also senior staff here at Bandai, and we'll get more information on that. And they were confused as to how you expressed your concern for the title when you jump into the comment section of an article that reads purely like a bad faith opinion piece, riddled with incorrect information. Our press release never mentions, and the person that actually made the article is a well-known Gundam/Mecha journalist. I'm not wanting to really give out names here. Riddled with incorrect information, our press release never mentions Xbox, to essentially say, I'm not a fan of this franchise and I don't think it'll be good, and to state that our team is strategically wrong for a decision without a real case as to why. That doesn't really do anything. In our experience, we have never lied to you about a product and don't intend to. However, this honestly is built upon you and others providing good faith coverage and using the privilege you have to personally reach out to us with concerns before bringing them to a public space. Additionally, there are so many ways to express concerns or providing criticisms while maintaining good relations, seeming informed, and appearing fair in dealing. We've received plenty of fair-handed criticism from people in the past, especially over our live service titles. The most concerning part of this is that several senior staff members who saw your LinkedIn post, in fact, they're the ones that showed it to us. And on LinkedIn, you can see who views your stuff, who you're friends with, etc. So let me keep going. Or you probably know what's coming. Said that they weren't sure they could trust you anymore. This is incredibly damaging, not just to you, but the two of us and the program as a whole. So, honestly, when they reached out, of course, I'm going to take it seriously. But as I'm reading this, I'm seeing a lot of corporate apologist kind of fluff. So my response, I appreciate you reaching out with the feedback. I don't want to damage the program, so let me know what the next steps are, or if they are outlined here, I didn't see it. Because really, with that wall of text, I wasn't told anything, and that was kind of confusing. So then someone else, the other person, steps in and says, I think first off, we'd like to know a little more about why you made the decision you did. Social media sites like that are both public and forever. So I say, well, it was my opinion on a video game, which I think were all valid points. Trust shouldn't be a concern since I'm not lying or hiding anything with that information. And I have mentioned these points in my videos going on a few weeks now. I'm passionate about Gundam and gaming, which are strictly hobbies in my life. I stick to being positive, but will point out concerns on the basis of previous misses. As for being public and forever, my opinion on GB4 does not directly affect my family, career, or health. And then here, to start with, if they were valid points, we wouldn't be having this conversation, which that's not a good argument. Come on, man. Do you generally think the game isn't coming to Xbox because we just don't like the platform? I mean, I never said that. Or is there a valid and thoughtful business decision behind it? I don't know. I actually asked them, but we'll get into that. You could have directly asked us what that business reason was. We would have told you. And invoking an end of service live service title to compare to this title without any connective tissue to make that comparison make sense felt crass and like a pot shot the average uninformed internet commenter would make, not a partner to the company who frequently receives frivolous information. So they're kind of comparing me to someone that doesn't know Gundam but might be interested in the game, so they might be confused and say, hey, why did Gundam Evolution get canceled? And there's not another Gundam game coming, that sort of thing. Okay. So I responded with, I did bring it up in the server. And to be honest, I've brought up other things that haven't been answered, from including other influencers. Yeah, there's other Gundam influencers that I work with, some that they've always asked, hey, bring us people. And I have, and then they just never got back to me, which is fine. That's, up to them. Also, GBO music feedback. So when they asked for feedback, I created a graphical sort of concept of a way to further use the new soundtrack feature in GBO 2. Didn't hear back from that. And then I say, but I've just moved on. And in the server, I was asking them often, hey, do we know why it's not coming to Xbox? It doesn't make sense. I asked multiple times. I never got a response. But regardless of that, my sentiment is shared across the fandom, so I'm not saying anything new. If there's a specific reason it's not on Xbox platforms, maybe that should be addressed. I'm not saying Bandai doesn't like Xbox, just that there is confusion after announcing future games being multi-platform and using UE5. People were upset about Gun Evo. The optics, regardless of the logistics within Bandai, don't look good outside Bandai. And remember, this is from a place of passion. I'm not actively canceling, calling out a specific person, or diminishing sales. Also, I know who could have seen the LinkedIn post. But then I'm curious, if no one watches my videos, I've spoken on this topic more there and have even had people comment about Gun Evo and Xbox. There's multiple things going on where I'm almost calling them out by saying things. For instance, I know who could have seen the LinkedIn post. It was the guy that, because I didn't like his idea, laughed at me at this in front of the other influencers, other people at Bandai Namco. It was that guy. And about the curious if no one watches my videos, one of these guys even reached out to me personally and says, I love watching your videos. And so I was like, oh, wow, that means so much to me. You've gotten a good look at how we operate. You've seen how busy we are. To assume we have the time to watch every piece of every creator's content, or to assume if a question didn't get answered that we weren't ever going to answer it, and not thinking reasonably that maybe you need to just ask again, is concerning and speaks to a lack of understanding of what our work entails. So that's what I don't get. If they're asking me to do these things, like they say they watch our videos so they know our content, and that's why they're promoting us in the first place. That's why they picked us in the first place, because they know what we talk about. So if it's after the fact, it's like, well, we don't watch your videos. I mean, that's not really good for the program. Also saying I should ask again when I did ask that multiple times. I mean, what else do you want me to do? I think I'm being reasonable here. Even this conversation, giving you multiple opportunities to reassure us, but reassure of what? We feel that there is a misunderstanding of how this relationship has to work so that we can continue to provide opportunities which we feel have been very generous and above the industry standard. Whether you're incapable or unwilling, it's clear as day that this isn't a relationship that can feel comfortable, will benefit us and our work to grow Gundam in the long run. To make things short, we have decided that your time as a member of the blank will have to end. Before I cut you loose completely, given how things went after the office visit, I think I should spell this out plainly. Your leaving the program does not release your from the legal obligations of your NDA, which you renewed most recently when you entered the office as a guest late November. We provide zero consent for you to share publicly or privately about anything you learned during your time in the program, and any violations of the NDA will be forwarded to our legal team. So it's pretty sad that it got to this point. I'm not being toxic to anyone. I'm not calling anyone out, but they are threatening legal action. We appreciate your time and effort in the program, and you are still able to work with other blanks in whatever way you'd like to continue your growth as a creator, which is funny because I was already kind of in charge of an event that was supposed to take place after this, and I just ran with it. You guys had probably watched it last year. I just ran with the event, acting like nothing was happening, but because it's about providing a cool Gundam experience for everyone, and I didn't want this drama to take up that. So I just end it with, okay, that is understandable. Appreciate everything and sorry for the issue. Because really, I am sorry that it turned out that way. Those guys didn't want to have to deal with that. Funny story, those two guys that were talking to me, they were gone from Bandai Namco shortly after that. And they're actually working on another mecha franchise. I'll just leave it there. But I just think it's very interesting that either they couldn't put up with that guy anymore, or maybe that guy just has it out for people and sent them on their way. I don't know. But we can see from this that there's a chain of events, and it seems to link back to that executive at Bandai Namco Entertainment America who tends to put ego, I guess, before the brand, which is not good for the brand here in America. But it didn't end there. So last year, I was working with Look North World on a Fortnite Gundam collaboration, which is funny because when I was at Bandai Namco, I said I think it would be better to utilize Gundam within Call of Duty, which they ended up coming up with skins for that, and in Fortnite, which didn't turn out that great, but whatever, we'll move on. So I was invited into planning sessions. I had meetings with the team at Look North World, and at the very last minute, they told me they got some pushback to hold up. So I was like, okay, that was probably it. So Gundam Battle Destiny Remastered, Bandai Namco reached out to me to sign an NDA, and they wanted to provide me some early access to Gundam Battle Destiny Remastered before the game dropped. After signing the NDA, I don't hear from them. But what's funny is another third party actually reached out to me to give me a key for review, and I gave it to a friend and still provided a review video for them. But I guess there are certain circumstances where when it doesn't go through Bandai Namco directly, companies still want to work with me. There was also a third-party company that they were working close with Bandai in creating a series of videos about Gundam. I had to sign an NDA. I was even given the SOW statement of work to start working on it. Once I was told what to do, I got a follow-up email shortly after saying, they want you to hold off for now. The other person that was part of this, they didn't tell them that. Also, I don't know the details on this. There's another individual at Bandai that I've talked to frequently that reached out to me either, I think, end of the spring or beginning of summer to do work on something else. After a while, they didn't respond back to me. But also, and I forgot, this was the end of last year, a third-party firm working with Bandai on promoting the Gundam VR game reached out to me to give me some stuff. And then also Levi sent me some Gundam clothing. All right, so anyway, what is the point of all this? In the end, it's super disappointing. Someone like me, and I threw all my laundry out there. I am not trying to be a toxic person when it comes to the Gundam brand. So I'm really shocked how at the high levels, executive levels of Bandai Namco Entertainment America, you have people who will put their ego in front of what's best, what's authentic, what's genuine for the brand. And we could just see within this creator program how, as someone that comes from a background in professional marketing, how they are just dropping the ball when it comes to how they're communicating with influencers. Now, those two aren't there anymore. So for me to still get blacklisted means it's that main guy from LinkedIn, which he is still there. And this is what's going on with the Gundam brand. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. This has been sitting with me for a long time, and I'm going to be honest, it has been bothering me because a little bit, it makes me feel like that I've hurt people, that maybe there is an issue with the way I work with people, and I felt really bothered by it. But just over time, the few people that I have talked to about this, high-ranking people and friends and family, it seems like I didn't really do anything wrong. And I guess this speaks to when you're working with a corporation. Sometimes they're great, but there can be the egos of some few that have that higher rank that can just do whatever they want to spike the brand. So anyway, I hope that's a good warning for all y'all out there. If you do have any questions, let me know, but I don't know if I will be talking more about this. I just kind of wanted to throw this out there as a warning for you all. But until next time, be positive.